To make the Tunisian crochet mitered square honeycomb stitch, we're going to need to have a slightly loose chain of any even number. I chose 36. Let's begin with basic Afghan stitch. Insert your hook into the second chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. You're going to pick up a loop in each chain all the way to the end of your chain. Leave all of your loops on the hook. Now we have all of our loops on the hook. Now it's time to close the row. It's going to be pretty normal, but we're going to do a couple of things differently towards the middle. Begin by yarning over, and then you're going to pull through the first 2 loops. We're going to continue to yarn over and pull through 2 loops until you get to the last stitch just before the middle stitch. In this case, we're going to stop once we have crocheted or pulled our hook through stitch 17. Now that we've reached our stitch just before the middle stitch, we're going to yarn over and pull through the next 2 stitches. So that's 3 loops we're going to pull our hook through. Yarn over, and then you're just going to pull through 2 loops to the beginning of the row as shown. Let's begin row 1. We're going to start with Tunisian simple stitch in the first stitch. Next, Tunisian purl stitch with yarn in front. Insert your hook into the vertical bar. Let the yarn come around just like that around the hook and pull through. And then you're going to follow with Tunisian simple stitch and Tunisian purl stitch. We're going to keep the stitch pattern going just like that, alternating each stitch, Tunisian simple, Tunisian purl, until we get to the 2 stitches that we skipped when we were closing our foundation row. All right, so we're ready to skip over those 2 stitches. You're going to continue the stitch pattern. So if you left off with a purl stitch, like it looks like I did, then the next stitch will be a simple stitch. Now right here, you can choose to use a stitch marker. I like to use the stitch marker because I think it keeps my work neater and it keeps my stitches from, looking a little dragged or droopy. And then you're just going to continue with the stitch pattern. So the next stitch would be Tunisian purl. And you're just going to keep going with the stitch pattern all the way to the very end of your project here, okay? And I'll see you right over there where we're closed the row. All right, so we're going to close the row and we're going to insert our hook into the little end loops right there. And then you're just going to yarn over and pull through both of those and extend your yarn just a bit to create some ease. And then yarn over and pull through 2 loops until you reach your middle stitches right there. And then once you meet your middle stitches, then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. And you'll see here in just a second what I'm talking about. All right, here we go. So you're just going to yarn over and pull your yarn through all 3 loops, the loop on the hook, and then those 2 stitches. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops all the way to the beginning of your project. Okay, now we're ready to start row 2. For row 2, you're going to start with Tunisian purl stitch. So with the yarn in front, insert your hook into the vertical bar, release, yarn over and pull up a loop. And then the next stitch will be Tunisian simple. You're going to follow this stitch pattern, alternating. And you'll start to see your pattern form, the honeycomb pattern. You'll start to see it form probably after about the 3rd or 4th row. And we're just going to continue skipping over those 2 stitches and not deviating from the stitch pattern. Keep the pattern going. Close each row the same, using the Tunisian simple stitch in your end loops, yarning over and pulling up, creating some ease, and then closing the row just as we have before. You're going to repeat rows 1 and 2 for the stitch pattern. I'll see you in just a few short seconds where we're going to close our project and finish off our square. We only have a few more stitches to grab, so we're going to start with our Tunisian purl stitch in our first stitch there, and we're going to skip over our middle stitches. As you can see, I didn't mark those with a stitch marker, but we're still going to skip over those, and then we're going to proceed with Tunisian simple stitch in our last stitch, and then we're going to close our row in our end loops with Tunisian simple stitch, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. And what this does is it creates the same amount of loops on all of your sides. So, you know, that your project, once it's woven together or you put a border around it, it's going to be more symmetrical than if you had like 1 or 2 extra loops on any of the sides. So you can sew these together. You may have to do some light blocking, but once they're sewn into position, depending on what method you use, you know, they look really, really nice. You can create a shawl or whatever, a hood. You can make big ones, little ones, hats, anything with this, really. So happy crafting, and I really thank you guys for hanging out with me and letting me share with you some of the stuff that I think is pretty cool. All right, so we'll chit chat in the near future. All right. Peace out, you guys.